Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, in this explainer, we're breaking down the sheer chaos of director Curry Barker's 2025 smash hit cinematic debut, Obsession. We're going to get right into the story plot of this modern masterpiece, exploring exactly how it masterfully twists a classic wish fulfillment trope into a relentless, inescapable nightmare. Seriously, put yourself in the protagonist's shoes for a second. What if the ultimate romantic gesture became your absolute worst nightmare? Imagine a scenario where getting exactly what you want unleashes sheer terror. It's basically a modern-day monkey's paw, exploring what happens when selfish desires completely override human autonomy. Part 1. A Wish Gone Wrong. The Inciting Incident. So we kick things off by meeting our protagonist, Baron Bailey, though everyone just calls him Bear. He's this awkward guy working at a local music store. And right off the bat, we find out he's grieving his cat, Sandy, who tragically just died from eating some leftover oxycodone pills. Try not, lift his spirits, Bear decides to buy a gift for his coworker and longtime crush, Nikki. It sets up what looks like your perfectly normal, maybe slightly sad workplace crush. But oh man, is it about to spiral completely out of control. The key to this whole plot is the One Wish Willow. Bear picks this up at a local occult shop. It's essentially this supernatural novelty item that claims to grant exactly one wish when the user breaks it in half. This little stick is the narrative catalyst driving the entire story forward. It's literally the loaded gun of the movie. After a trivia night at a bar, Bear drives Nikki home, but she gently rejects his nervous, awkward advances. Frustrated and totally embarrassed, Bear goes home, pulls out that One Wish Willow, and snaps it. In a pure moment of desperation, he makes his fateful demand. He wishes Nikki loved him more than anyone in the world. It's a desperate, poorly thought-out wish triggered entirely by his fear of rejection. And well, you know how these things go. Part 2. Act 1. The Setup. Immediate Consequences. Almost immediately after snapping the stick, the wish just totally overrides Nikki's reality. She abruptly shows up at Bear's house, acting wildly out of character. She's erratic, she's forcefully kissing him, and bizarrely, she claims her father is dying of cancer, which, by the way, we later find out is a complete lie. The magic has created this terrifyingly artificial, desperate affection, just to fulfill the parameters of Bear's wish, forcing her to fabricate tragedies just to stay near him. And Nikki's breakneck descent into madness escalates over just a couple of days. Morning 1, she creates a bizarre memorial out of the dead cat's remains. Day 2, her obsession grows so intense she literally duct tapes Bear's front door shut so he can't leave for work. By day 3, in one of the film's most disturbing moments, Bear realizes at work that Nikki packed his lunch, and he is eating a sandwich made from his dead cat. Yeah, the horror escalates from awkward to downright gruesome in no time flat. Part 3, Act 2, Deadly Obsession, the Psychological Dark. Panicking over the dead cat sandwich, as you do, and Nikki's escalating behavior, Bear does what anyone might try. He calls the customer support number for the One Wish Willow, and he learns a horrific truth. The voice on the phone tells him that the wish can't just be altered or taken back. It only expires if either Bear or Nikki dies. The stakes are instantly raised to life or death, completely trapping Bear in a situation he can't just apologize his way out of. This brilliantly illustrates the tragic dichotomy of the story's plot. Over the phone with customer support, Bear can actually hear the real Nikki. She's completely trapped in her own mind, horrified, screaming in anguish, and eventually even begging Bear to kill her just to end the suffering. Meanwhile, on the outside, we have obsessive Nikki. She's violent, manipulative, fiercely possessive, and constantly threatening suicide if Bear leaves her. Nikki is essentially a prisoner in her own body, forced by magic to act out Bear's twisted fantasy. The tension finally boils over at their friend Ian's party. Nikki sits down and recites this incredibly violent, twisted version of Hansel and Gretel to the disturbed guests. But then, the real Nikki briefly manages to break through her obsessive persona. She starts screaming, "It's not me," in front of everyone, and shockingly stabs her own face with a broken bottle before the spell forces her back under control. It really highlights the utter helplessness of her situation. It is just so dark. Part 4. Act 3, The Reversal, an absolute bloodbath. Okay, let's dive into this chaotic climax, where secrets are revealed and the body count just skyrockets. First, Bear's friend Sarah drops a bomb. Ian and Nikki had secretly been hooking up for 2 years. As she's telling Bear this in her car, Nikki appears out of nowhere, smashes the window, and violently murders Sarah with a brick. Desperate, Bear buys the last 2 One-Wish Willows from the occult shop. He explains everything to Ian and begs him to use one to wish the curse away. But Ian, being incredibly greedy, doesn't believe the danger and instead wishes for $1 billion. Money literally starts raining from the ceiling right before Nikki bursts in and shoots Ian in the head. Bear returns home to find Sarah's mangled body and Nikki wearing Sarah's clothes, holding a gun to her own head. Surrounded by the horrific carnage his wish has caused, Bear realizes there is only one way to break the rule of the wish. He decides to end it by dying. And the plot brilliantly brings back those oxycodone pills from the very beginning of the story, the exact ones that killed his cat, as Bear's final, somewhat cowardly way out. He takes the pills to intentionally overdose. But just as Bear starts to change his mind and tries to throw the pills up, Nikki stops him. She takes the very last One-Wish Willow, breaks it, and makes a wish of her own. As Bear collapses from the overdose, Nikki's wish takes control of his body. He emerges from the bathroom, completely devoid of his own will, and is forced to kiss her. In a chilling reversal, Nikki forces Bear to experience the exact same horrifying loss of autonomy that he forced on her, right in his final moments before he dies. Part 5. The alternate ending, a cynical conclusion. Now, what's really interesting is that Barker originally wrote and filmed a Romeo and Juliet-inspired ending, where Nikki regains control and immediately kills herself. But on the advice of his playwright father, Barker shot one take of an alternate ending where she survives. With Bear dead, the wish breaks, the real Nikki regains control and she's left alive, standing alone, wheeling at the unbelievable carnage around her. Choosing this ending makes the final moment significantly more haunting, because she actually has to live with the memory of what her body was forced to do. And this dark vision absolutely resonated with audiences. $100.6 million. That is the massive worldwide box office haul this film pulled in. To put that into perspective, they had a micro budget of around just $1 million. The film's wild, unflinching deconstruction of typical romance tropes became a huge word-of-mouth hit, driven by an audience demographic that was 75% youth. It clearly hit a nerve with the 18 to 34 crowd who flocked to theaters to see this toxic relationship explode. Which brings us to the end of our explainer. I want to leave you with this. In the end, who was the real monster, the wish or the wisher? Bear thought he was just an awkward guy with a crush, but his willingness to strip away Nikki's free will makes us really question his true nature. It points a very dark mirror at the horrific consequences of selfish desires. It's a terrifying thought to ponder and definitely makes you think twice about what you might ask for. Thanks for joining me as we unpacked the wild plot of Obsession.